Whoa, damn, excuse me. Do I have pit stains yet? Cause it's fucking hot in here. Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel, unless this is your first time here, in which case, settle down. Settle down? Welcome. I'm literally a hot mess right now. Not aesthetically, physically, temperature. My air conditioning's broken. As you can tell by today's title, I am doing my Accutane skincare routine, and this is something that has actually been very requested. People wanted to see it, I promise. At least like a couple of you. So that's the intro, I guess. First and foremost, you might be asking yourself, Megan, what in the world is Accutane? Accutane is also known as isotosine, which is basically a pill you get from your dermatologist that you take for a certain amount of time that clears your skin. Now let me put the massive disclaimer here, waving my arm so you understand it. This is not me endorsing, hey, do you have bad skin? Are you breaking out? You should go on Accutane. I'm just going purely based off of my personal experience. So many times when I've talked about being on Accutane, like the comments will explode with people saying, don't do it, it's so terrible for you, and like listing all of these side effects and all these terrible things and what it does to your body, and how through the camera or like through watching my videos, you could never understand how my skin would need that. It was the absolute last resort when it came to my skin. I've had problematic skin my entire life. So I had been prescribed topical things, but because I had such sensitive skin, it would make my skin super peely and dry, and it would work for a while, and then it would stop. And then I was on a constant dose of antibiotics for my skin, switching between, I think, 3 or 4 of them. I was pretty much just dealing with my breakouts and managing my acne prone skin from like my teenage years up until this past fall. My skin was just getting worse and worse every single day, which is so frustrating, especially when you're in the acting industry, is the fact that your skin is something that people have to talk about like it's not attached to your face. So there's like production meetings when I have a zit and like having makeup caked on my face for 12 hours a day, not being able to in my job give my skin a break. And so I was just constantly breaking out, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. And then through that, my anxiety was getting worse about my skin. And I have a skin picking problem. I would just tear apart at my skin the second that I saw something, because it would just eat away at me. Like, and I just couldn't stop picking it no matter how much I knew I shouldn't. And it got to the point where my skin was so bad, I was becoming agoraphobic, and I couldn't leave the house because I wanted to tape up all of the mirrors. I wasn't posting pictures on Instagram of myself unless they were like from far away or super face-tuned. I was just so like petrified of people staring at my skin, and I was scared when I looked at my skin, and I had all of these breakouts that I couldn't stop picking at, and I was making it so much worse, but I couldn't stop. And so finally my dermatologist and I sat down and we went through the list of everything we had tried. It got to the point where Accutane was legitimately the last option. But for me, I was like, I cannot continue to live like this. I'm ditching auditions. I'm not hanging out with my friends. I'm just feeling more and more depressed because of the fact of what my skin looks like. And I knew something had to change, because there was no way at like 23 years old I was gonna be like, well, this is how I'm gonna live the rest of my life, never leaving my house. Call me Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. So in the appointment where my dermatologist and I talked about potentially going on Accutane, she was like, I just don't trust that you're not gonna like tear all these holes in your face, and I do think that Accutane is gonna be a really good option for you. And I basically agreed, and I started taking it in November, and I'm on a 6-month round of Accutane. Your dermatologist, if you go on it, they'll like discuss with you to go in every single month to track your progress and all that stuff, and they'll figure out how long they want to put you on it for it. I'm almost done. That's essentially my story of how I got started on Accutane, and before I get into the products that I'm using, I will talk about my side effects. So to address like the most serious side effect that comes with Accutane, aside from the fact that like you really cannot get pregnant while you're on it because like the kids will have like crazy insane birth defects, it's the fact that being on Accutane can cause depression and suicidal thoughts. And this is something I already deal with. So for me, that wasn't necessarily a fear that I had going into it. I know a lot of people, that's the one that they're most afraid of, but for me, like, I've dealt with that stuff for a really long time. I know how to work through that, and like that's something I already battle, so like I'm not concerned about that. I don't think there's been any sort of change since I've been on Accutane. Everything feels pretty similar to how it has always been. I didn't feel personally affected by that, but that could also be because it's something that I'm already dealing with, maybe? I don't know. I just want to get that out of the way because it's something that people comment on a lot and ask a lot about, so I just wanted to touch on that for a second. The side effect that I probably experience the most is dryness. My skin has never been drier. My lips are always perpetually chapped no matter how much lip balm or Aquaphor or anything I put on, and my skin always feels dry. So aside from dryness, the other side effects that I've experienced having to do with my physical skin as well, I've got contact dermatitis, where basically I break out in hives and rashes and my skin will get all red and blotchy for no reason, or for reasons like when I go outside, if I get too cold or if I get too hot or anything like that, my skin can get really red and blotchy and I can break out in hives. So that's something that I've noticed flares up more since being on Accutane. Another side effect that I've experienced is like extreme tiredness. So it's not only just like being really sleepy all the time, I have such a hard time waking up in the morning, which is not me at all. I'm usually like up and at 'em like 6:45, 6 a.m. Like I love the mornings and I need more coffee to wake up in the morning, and I also just don't sleep as well throughout the night, which I guess is also a side effect. Connected to the being tired one, another side effect that I experience is just being extremely sore and lethargic after I work out. It's something to do with muscle recovery and Accutane, but it's yeah, there's some workouts where I will feel it so much after that it's like I'm 10 times more sore after working out than I am like usually. So that's been like really not motivating at all to like get back on that workout grind. There was like a period of like a month and a half where I constantly felt like I was gonna shit my pants. That might not even be related. I just have a really weak stomach. And then I think overall just kind of feels like I've got like a prolonged cold or whatever. Like, you know that feeling when you're getting like the tail end of a cold? It's starting to get better, but you don't have like your full energy and you kind of feel like a little bit groggy and a little bit like, ugh. Just, but not so much that it like inhibits your day, but enough that like you might not necessarily like notice you don't feel great, but then when you feel better, you're like, oh wow, I didn't feel that awesome, because you just kind of get used to it. That's how it feels. But yeah, those are just the side effects that I've personally experienced on Accutane. But again, if you end up going on Accutane, you will have to talk to your dermatologist about all of this stuff. You literally have to go in every single month to get a blood test, to get a check-in, to do a urine sample. You have to go online and do a quiz where you talk about like what's true and false having to do with Accutane and all of those sort of things and like all that stuff. And every pill thing comes with like all the side effects. Your doctor has to sit down with you, explain everything to you. You have to sign waivers and all of this stuff. Like, to be frank, it's like a really fucking hardcore drug, and it's super scary, and there's all of these side effects and all of these potential risk factors and all of these things, and it's crazy dangerous. But at the end of the day, I think if you're considering going on this, or essentially if you're considering going on any medication in general that's got a bunch of different side effects, you have to figure out where you're at right now and what the potential risks are if you don't do anything. And I think for me, as someone who has a history with mental illness and someone who has an issue with OCD and picking, the fear that I was becoming agoraphobic and all of those things, I was able to know that any side effects that I was gonna deal with being on Accutane would hopefully get me closer to being able to feel better without it, because what I was feeling without it was like scary. My little 2 cents on it all. Now that I've rambled for forever and ever and ever, I am going to go through and show you guys the products that I use. Essentially, the skincare routine is targeted for dry skin, so even if you're not on Accutane, if you have sensitive or dry skin, I feel like this would probably also work for you, so just saying. So I'll alternate between 2 different face washes, but if I am using like a foamy cleanser, this one I've liked. It's the Totally Instant Foaming Cleanser. It's just a really gentle, like very basic, super simple cleanser. And then if I need some exfoliation, I'm not supposed to use my Clarisonic right now because my skin is too sensitive for that. So instead, I just use the Fresh Sugar Face Polish. So this is a scrub, but it's got sugar in it, and it's not like the ones that have like harsh, like walnut seed, cracky shell things where it's like really jagged. It's like a super soft exfoliant, very gentle. The daytime under eye cream that I use is the Eye Duty Triple Remedy AM Gel Cream from First Aid Beauty. It soaks into my skin and I like it, and I don't want wrinkles. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. After I cleanse my skin, I use this activating water essence, which is basically like marshmallow root and some other things. It makes your moisturizer more moisturizing. This before my moisturizer, morning and night, like I love it. For daytime moisturizers, I'm not particularly picky. I've got a couple to show you that I like. Ole Henriksen Sheer Transformation Oil-Free Perfecting Cream, Repair Skin with Vitamin C Complex, Licorice Root, and Pea Extract. This one's a little bit thinner. I like this under makeup a lot. And finally, the most hydrating moisturizer of all is the Tarte Drink of H2O Hydrating Boost. That's what I have on my skin right now. It really like moisturizes, but I need like a good amount of time before I apply makeup or anything like that over it. So my nighttime skincare routine doesn't really change that much, but to remove my makeup, I've been using the Micellar Cleansing Water from Garnier, but I have really been liking this, especially because I mean, usually with eyelash extensions, they've all fallen out, but I can't use oil-based with eyelash extensions, so I've really liked this a lot. And at night, I'll use the same cleansers, like the same water essence and all that stuff, but for moisturizer, then I'll use the CeraVe PM Facial Moisturizing Lotion. So cheap, so good. And then the eye cream that I use at night is the Kiehl's Creamy Eye Treatment with Avocado. I love this one. I would use this one in the day too, but I do feel like it doesn't soak in as well. The other one's like light color, like very clear. This is like yellowy green. So I get like worried that my makeup's going like yellowy green. I don't know, it's just stupid. Now if you know anything about me, is that I love a good face mask. I love one. I love a charcoal, pour, suck it all out. But I've been instructed by my dermatologist to not use any of those. But I am allowed to use moisturizing masks, which I do, and I love them. First one is this Fresh Rose face mask. My boyfriend thinks it looks like period blood on my face, and I'm like, okay. Another one from Fresh is their Vitamin Nectar Vibrancy Boosting Face Mask, and this one smells like oranges, and it looks like marmalade. I don't really know what this one does, but I know I'm allowed to use it. So I do, because I like face masks. This next one is the Glam Glow Thirsty Mud Hydrating Mask. I love this one so much. So much. When I clean my skin and when I take this mask off, I look like fresh out of the womb, vagina birth juices, clean skin. That got really gross really fast. And the last face mask is the 5-in-1 Bouncy Mask from First Aid Beauty. Again, I love this. I've talked about this prior to being on Accutane, but this is like my favorite moisturizing one. It's one that I travel with all the time, and it's so good. And finally, the last three things I am going to talk about is lip care. So obviously, Aquaphor for the lips. This is amazing. I'll use it on my cuticles. I'll like rub the excess on my hands, anything like that. Like if they made this full body size and I could just like soak my body in it. This next one that I have is from First Aid Beauty, but it says Top Secret Fab Lip Treatment, because this is a sample that I got forever ago. As you can see, it's almost empty. This one's super, super, super thick. Really nice. I have never gone through as much like lip balm treatments as I have in the last like 4 months, like that I have in my entire life. I also love the Bite Beauty Agave Lip Mask. So good. I love the Fresh, the one that comes in the pot. I love that. I think that's great too. And then also speaking of Fresh, this is their Sugar Lip Serum Advanced Therapy, and this is what I'll use at night when you talk and it just like goes like old school little mama like lip gloss, where it's got like lip gloss strings. When I like go to bed and I'm just like a moisturized mess and I like roll over my good night, sweetie, and my boyfriend's like, oh my god, what did I get myself into? And I'm like, a lot of moisture. Ah, moist. Does the word moisture bother people who hate the word moist? This video is way too long. I would really love it if you guys liked this video to show me that you enjoyed it. And if you did and you want to subscribe to my channel, you should also get notifications for my videos, because if you get notifications and then you like tweet it out, I'll like retweet your tweets and like tweet you back, and we'll engage on the social medias. Yeah, so I love you guys, noodles, and I will see you all next time. Bye. I'm excited for a number of reasons. One, I'm not wearing pants right now, and you can't even tell. Two, I'm not wearing a bra, and you can also probably tell.